I recently had a conversation with somebody in one of my Overwatch matches where we talked about banning all alternate accounts. And the conversation started in the first place because in his last game, and he was venting to us in the current game, in his last game he had somebody throw, and it was clear that they were on an alt account. And a lot of his argument was because the player base has way too many active alt accounts, and the players that own those accounts don't care if they throw every couple of games. And this pretty much was alone why he thought Overwatch felt incredibly toxic at the moment. But is that true? Is that why Overwatch feels toxic? Is that why games really suck as of the past 2 seasons? I don't think this is really it on its own, but there's a little bit of truth to what he said. The fact that some players with alt accounts do throw more likely than others. Now that's completely true because I ran into a lot of people with alt accounts and it's pretty obvious they're on an alt account and they easily throw games at the drop of a hat. But at the same time, this is what I told him, there are a lot of decent players out there, and I mean that with their morals in game. There are players with good intentions who own alt accounts and play seriously on them and would never throw. And I take great pride in being one of those players who own an alt account and would never throw. I have never thrown an Overwatch game, and I never will on any of my accounts. So if you ever see me on your team, you know you have somebody that will help work with the team to win. But here's what I think is the real problem when it comes to those players on alt accounts occasionally throwing. The fact is, it doesn't matter that they're on an alt account. At the end of the day, it should be anybody that's throwing or anybody that's showing annoying signs of toxicity in their games. Any of those players should be banned. Just remove them. Get rid of them. We don't want to play with them. We don't need them in this community. Anybody throwing or being toxic should be immediately removed from the game. Because there are plenty of good players who own alt accounts with good intentions in game. So it's not the alt account that's the problem. Again, it's the human behind the alt account that is the problem. And that human needs banned. It all starts with the punishment system, and this is why we need to be reporting people. As an advocate for Blizzard, and this is what Blizzard wants, they want you to use the report system. They're saying that the report system actually works and that we should be using it. Now this happens a lot in our games. We all see the enemies. Clearly the enemy has someone throwing. Like you see somebody that's either not leaving spawn, they're going offensive Symmetra and just kind of dirtling around the map. They don't care. Or they're just literally running in solo up to your team, clearly dying, which is throwing. You see the other team in the all chat complaining about that one player, how they're all reporting them and how you guys should report them as well. Make sure you are reporting those players, because I know a lot of people don't report players that are on the enemies that are throwing, because they just couldn't be bothered, because you have to hit like 3 buttons, and who cares? You just want your free SR from that game and you want to move on. But you should be reporting those players, because that player could wind up on your game very soon. We need to come together as a community to get rid of these players. So whether it's your team, which I know a lot of people will report people on their own team that are throwing, but please report players on the other team when the other team is complaining about someone, and when you obviously recognize that somebody's throwing on the enemy team, please report them. Alright, that's the end of my speech on that. But here's my complete thinking on this whole banning all alt accounts, because I'm sure that this is a popular idea, when it, especially at the lower elo where they do deal with Smurfs a lot. Let's define Smurf from alt account, because Smurfs need removed, alts do not. That's the way I look at it. And this is what a Smurf account is. A Smurf account is somebody's alt account in which they purposefully throw games to play at a lower SR. An SR they do not belong, and that's it. That's it right there. The fact that they are throwing games, they need to be gone. They're trying to get that account to a lower SR so that they can absolutely just smash games. Yeah, that's not fair to anybody in that lobby, and that player who's smurfing needs to be removed immediately. But alt accounts do not, because somebody can have an alt account and try their best on it, so it's essentially a second main account. And I mean, that's what my alt account is. You guys see me play on the Genji account. That's essentially a second main account. And it's funny how the Nateson account is a couple games out of GM, but the alt account is in GM still, and it has like double the playtime as the Nateson account. It's funny. But I treat both of them essentially as my main accounts. Yes, the Nateson account is like 700 levels higher, but they're at the same skill rating essentially. And that's the way alt accounts should work. Your alt account should usually end up near your main. I used my alt as a solo queue only account, figuring I might struggle a lot more, but no, I found myself climbing up to Grandmaster within about a week and a half. But a lot of players' alt accounts, and let's talk about Grandmasters and Masters, a lot of their alt accounts are going to be placed in mid-diamond. That's where I see a lot of players getting placed for some reason. And so now you can make the argument, alright, so what about those games right there? Players that are trying their best, who have main accounts in High Master or Low Grandmaster, they're getting placed in low to mid-diamond. And now all of those players in Diamond, their games are ruined because clearly there is one player that is highly skilled and will most likely win multiple games in a row, which just completely ruins all of those games for his opponents. And that argument right there is fair. And this is where when Jeff Kaplan made that post about smurfing and alting a couple of months ago, when he talked about highly skilled players move up the SR system very quickly. So this is where I think they're looking at it as there's nothing they can do about this. Yes, when good players get on a new account and they're not throwing any of their games, they're sometimes getting placed in like Diamond. And Blizzard's kind of looking at it as, they'll get up to their real rank in just a couple of games, so it's really not a problem. And that really sucks, because that means that's the SR system to blame. That's not the player. This isn't the fault of the alt account holder. It's the fault of the SR system. The SR system shouldn't have put him in Diamond to begin with. And so that's why you can't blame alt accounts, and that's why you can't say you should just ban all alt accounts when it's the systems that are broken in the first place. So to come full circle here, when it comes to banning all alt accounts, I am not in favor. I don't think that alt accounts are a problem. Smurf accounts, like I talked about earlier, are a problem. Those players should be removed effective immediately. But remember, whenever people are throwing, you should be reporting them, because that's going to help get rid of these players on alt accounts that do throw. It's not the fault of the alt account. It's the fault of the player, and that player needs removed, and the report system should be able to remove him once people are reporting. So make sure you're using that report system. So let me know what you guys think about this topic. I know there's going to be a lot of people with some pretty compelling arguments here, and I'm actually really excited to see what you think. And also, tell me what you think about top 500 alt accounts, and whether or not those alt accounts should be placed in the top 500. Like, if some of you know the name Sinatra, his main account is like #1 in A. But he also has another account called 150K, and it's like number 10 right now. Do you think that these top 500 players who make alt accounts should also have their alt account be in the top 500? Because they're the same player, just 2 different accounts. Maybe 3 different accounts. Maybe they have 4 accounts in top 500. And that's 4 other unique individuals that can no longer get in. And that's a really cool topic. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think about that. And I hope you guys all have a great rest of the night. Take care, everybody. See ya. But here's what I think is the real plop from The Office. But here's what I think is the real plop. Oh my god. But here's what I think is the real problem. But here's what I think is the real plot. Oh my god.